Comedy Film Nerds Podcast.
Sound mixing.
Sound mixing.
Oh, this every year, man. The sound mixing and sound editing, it's just so interesting.
I
have two categories back to back with virtually the same nominees.
This is Baby Driver, Blade Runner, Dunkirk, Shape of Water, and Star Wars: The Last Jedi. Now the mixing.
How often do they split them?
It's
how often is it? I think it's
often
often the
rare.
same movie.
It's very rare that you don't see the same movies in sound editing and sound mixing.
But I mean, even the win, I think is the same.
So, this one is especially for mixing, and mixing is for, we always get this question: what's the difference between editing and mixing? Editing is, what's being dropped in and where things are. Mixing is the levels of like how loud something is and when music comes in and how loud music is as opposed to effects, things like that. Honestly, this is another, place where Dunkirk really shines because it was such a deliberate attempt with the editing to manipulate the sound of what you were watching.
Yeah, and again, with very little dialogue, you are. It's this visceral experience of what being on that beach or in that plane or what it was like. So it was intense for me.
Yeah,
and I mean, people in the industry usually just say, "Well, the loudest movie usually wins."
Right.
Yeah. Well, the Transformers movies have been nominated, but it to me, it's like comes down to the same kind of fight between Baby Driver and Dunkirk that we had with the film editing. Is that with the sound mixing, Baby Driver, the songs, the music is so important and has to be mixed with all the real life noises that are going on.
The car chase sounds and all that.
Mm-hmm.
So it's those are tricky. So I want to do both categories at the same time since we're
sure.
So I'm gonna go. Because I think it's smart to pick the same movie twice. I mean, you could get if you pick two different movies, you could in your Oscar pool. Maybe in the end you'll win by one. Maybe if one of the two comes in, it's kind of a risk to vote for the same thing for both. But I think the same thing always wins for both. And I think everyone just thinks Dunkirk is. I just think they think of it as a technical achievement. So I think it's going to win both. Even though I would like Baby Driver to win at least one of the two, but I'm going to go Dunkirk on both.
I got to agree with Doug again. Dunkirk on both.
I think we're all across the board on that one. It's Dunkirk should and will sound mixing and editing.
So, original song. This is Mighty River from Wetbound. Mystery of Love, Call Me By Your Name, Remember Me, Coco, Stand Up for Something, Marshall, and This Is Me, The Greatest Showman. Now, when you look at these, it's also ones that, like, even when you've seen the movie, sometimes I don't know if I remember that
I couldn't
song.
how many of these.
But the one that I think will win is This Is Me because it comes from a musical and it's the only nomination from for Greatest Showman, and I really feel like they were kind of hoping to get a production design one, and they didn't show up there. So I think This Is Me is going to win. I think Remember Me should. I think it's a better song from Coco, but This Is Me will.
Yeah, it's a tough one because Coco is so. Even by Pixar standards, it seems to be held up like as one of the best.
It is. It's also one of those movies too where it wasn't like heavily promoted as far as like the story and this is what it's about and all those things. They were very stingy with the details of the movie, but it didn't matter. It's just such a fun movie.
Yeah, I think they were stingy with the details because they were worried it would turn some people off. You could just say, "Hey, here's a new Pixar," and then once they're in it, then they relax and they're okay with the fact that it's about Mexican culture, which they might not want to see like that. There was that movie that already came out last year or the year before. That was animated.
Book of Life.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It feels like the same movie kind of.
Right.
So that's probably why they were quiet about it because that movie did okay, but it didn't, it wasn't.
It didn't do Coco numbers.
Yeah, and, I think you have a great point about people just gravitating towards a song that's from an actual musical rather than just something, Stand Up for Something from Marshall just plays over the end credits. And Same with Mighty River from Mudbound and Mystery of Love from Call Me By Your Name.
I know we didn't get Welcome to the Jungle from Jumanji here.
Original song. Has to be written for the movie, Chris.
Chris really wants Guns
I
N'
want
Roses.
Guns N' Roses to get the credit that they deserve.
So, Doug, are you doing?
I'm going Will and Should for This Is Me from Greatest Showman. And Coco is one of the movies I haven't seen yet, so forgive me if I'm. And Coco's going to win animated feature for sure. I think.
I'm gonna go. Should Will for Coco Remember Me.
All right.
What do you think of that?
It's not a bad thing to go with.
All right, Chris. What's original score got?
Original score has got Dunkirk, Phantom Thread, The Shape of Water, Star Wars: The Last Jedi, and 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri. And I will say, none of these movies the score stood up for me. And even with a movie like Dunkirk, it was deliberately sparse. There wasn't a huge amount of music in that movie.
That's why it's nominated for the choice to
exactly.
not.
The choice to
put
not
in
use a lot of music. In it.
What was one that you feel got snubbed? Was there a movie that had great music that you think should have been in there this year?
For score, no.
I actually think, to me, the one that does stand out, the score that was Shape of Water. And
I think especially if you see it more than once, I bet you that theme would stick with you. I can't.
Right.
I can't sing it right now or even really remember it, but Andre, The Shape of Water.
But you've got Star Wars: The Last Jedi. But you've got
It's
the
John
score
Williams.
that's John Williams again, with a variation on the original theme that we've heard.
Yeah,
many
but I
times
think that's
before.
why it got nominated because he's clearly extremely old and doesn't do a lot of. He also scored The Post, which had I thought that had an all right score, but yeah, it's the guy that Andre Desplat won for Shape of Water just now at the Golden Globes. So, and again, just to sort of sweep Shape of Water up, give it a handful of awards, I think that's where it's going to score. So I'm going should and will for Shape of Water.
Chris, what are you saying?
I'm going to go should Shape of Water, and I think will Dunkirk.
Listen to you.
Even though it was a very sparse score, I think I think Dunkirk's going to kind of sweep these other categories.
All right.
I shot first, getting heads across the land.